the idea for this, and maybe we can at a later date make like a intro. Would be kind of cool. Not like Patrick Hoffin's punching your face or whatever he is that he says.
You're tired of secularist bullies punching your values in the face.
No, but maybe something like some good music as a intro. I don't know. We'll just think of something. Yeah, we could do that. We'll do the Salve Regina.
We'll
that'd be cool. Yeah, the Crusader tone. That was really cool. That's really cool. I
don't know that one.
Well, now we got to learn it.
That's not in the Liber Usualis.
So I think the intention of this is actually quite selfish. I think both of us kind of want to use this as an excuse for us to explore interesting topics in theology and things like that.
To make us actually get off our butts and do something.
Yeah. So, what I was thinking about on the way over here was because I listen to a lot of Catholic podcasts.
I know you do.
A lot.
I know you do.
And I was thinking about the fact that they're all pretty good, but they all have like a slant where they're just like they don't want to go too far.
Except for Taylor Marshall.
Yeah, except for Dr. Taylor Marshall. And I think there is a need for people to just talk about what it is without any filters, without having to tiptoe over things. So that's what I think that'll be cool for us to do.
Yeah.
What is it that you wanted to talk about in the future?
Well, I had a couple of topics in mind, not necessarily related to current events, but why tradition appeals to the young, why we're not into happy clappy stuff.
Happy clappy.
And why the ones who are, I think, leave the church. In my experience anyways. Also just various things we've been thinking about or praying about throughout, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to talk about vocations a little bit.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think either of us are experts on vocations, but we both have experience in trying to discern, and some more successfully than others. We can talk about that later.
Sure.
I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder what church fathers have to say about vocations.
I've been meaning to ask Dr. Hayes that question for like a year.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to talk about. I think that'd be a cool thing to talk about. I never hear anybody talk about anything prior than like 50 years about vocations.
Well, there's a book called Religious Vocation, An Unnecessary Mystery by a Dominican priest whose name I can't remember. But I read it when I visited the Norbertines, and it was very good. And so if you come visit them, it'll be in your room.
Oh, sweet.
It's out of print right now, though. Huh. So anyway, it's very good.
Speaking of the Norbertines, Max, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. As Adrian just said, my name is Max. My full name is Maxwell James Mullenax the First. And I have a bachelor's degree in music, and I'm currently pursuing a master's in sacred music from the University of St. Thomas. And but come this August, I will be joining the ranks of the Norbertines of St. Michael's Abbey in Silverado, California. So thanks be to God for that.
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Adrian Fonseca. I'm a junior, about to be a senior at the University of St. Thomas, studying theology and communications with a minor in philosophy. So my credentials aren't as great as Max's master's in sacred music, but so we will be talking from our experience and different things like that, and hopefully we'll explore some of our own experiences, our experiences in our faith journey.
Yes, in our little faith community.
Yeah, we're just building our faith community of two, sharing our faith journey with you.
Oh my God! All right, you're welcome, TNT.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about them a lot. Yeah, things like that.
Yep.
I think that'll be interesting things. the things I was thinking about a lot of stuff that comes up in theology, and sometimes I'm listening to things like the political commentary and things like that, and people will start like quoting the Bible and things like that, and I find it very interesting that they hardly ever get it right, and I think it'd be cool to explore when people in politics and things like that quote the Bible and quote religious things like that.
Yeah, especially like with illegal immigration and
I think it's interesting the way people use their religion to for political gain, and hardly ever actually use the religion in the correct way. It's very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm personally opposed, but
but to negate sentences. So that's
yes, they do.
So that's a problem.
Are we talking about BUT or BUTT?
Well, I was thinking BUT, but this is going way out of left field.
Okay, reining it back in.
But the other thing I'd like to talk about is, since you have a background in you have a small background in music, so I think it'd be cool to explore the history of chant and and things like that. I think that would be a really interesting thing to talk about, because that's something I don't have a lot of experience in. But I'd love chant. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck is the difference between chant and polyphony, and why is one okay in Mass and why is another not? Or okay, but. So I'm very interested in that.
So you don't want to go on that tangent right now?
No, not right now. Maybe later. Maybe actually, you know what? Just tell me a little bit.
Okay. They're both okay in Mass. Traditionally, so chant is the setting of sacred text to music, and the music is at the service of the text, not the other way around. So the music, you will see, elevates the text. For example, if the word is like ascendit, meaning he ascended in the creed, in Credo 3 it goes up. Et ascendit in celi, except an octave higher, but my voice is tired today. Anyway, it goes higher. So the music paints the text, right? But where problems with polyphony come in are, we see in the really starting in like the 12th century, when composers basically just started adding as much cool stuff and showing off as much as they could for the sake of showing off, rather than for the sake of serving the text. So it got to the point where you'd have one guy would hold a note on one word, like viderunt omnes. One guy would hold V and be singing a note V. Then you'd have another guy, while that guy's holding the note, this other guy would be singing V. And then they would add more voices and more voices, but all just to get through one gradual of a Mass, and it would last like 15 minutes. So my point is that then they were holding these syllables for ridiculous amounts of time, and so people forgot what word they were on. And so nobody knew. And so then that diminished the significance of the sacred text.
Okay.
So basically you can sum it up as excess is not good. And when you add more voices just to be cool, then that's when we slap you down. But that's why Palestrina is brilliant, because it's still polyphonic, but he's very clear about the text. Okay,
well, that's interesting. I would
later.
definitely talk about more about that later, because that's really interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Though that piques some other questions that just popped in my head, but we'll save that for later.
Okay. Don't forget them.
Yeah, don't forget it. I have to come back and re-listen to it so I remember all the things we talked about. So the other thing I was thinking of was there's some things that I teach in faith formation and confirmation classes, things like that, that come up.
Improving people's faith journey.
Yeah, I'm trying to walk with them, meet them where they're at. No, I'm trying to. So in it, I get a lot of interesting questions, and then we talk about interesting things. And so we've been talking about things like what is it like the basics that have to do with the what does it mean to be Catholic. And what are the absolute basics of the Catholic faith that every Catholic should know or must believe, both or and. And the other thing we talked about this last week, we talked about communism. It was really funny because I was getting through my slides and so I started off talking about what is communism, and then halfway through I was like, someone raised their hand and was like, so what does this have to do with Catholicism? And then I flipped to the next slide, and the next slide was, what does this have to do with Catholicism? And so I was like, I got you.
They're so smart.
So we had, so just real quickly, there's been at least 10 papal condemnations of communism and socialism. And that's a topic we can go into at a later date.
And yet, interestingly enough, still more condemned is Freemasonry.
Really?
Yeah.
It's more condemned than Freemasonry?
No. I meant Freemasonry
is more condemned.
Has been more condemned.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was about to say. Okay.
No.
Yeah. So that's definitely something we're going to talk about as well. So those things that come up just in our daily lives that we find interesting, I think it'd be cool if we write it down and then we explore it. So we'll probably do maybe one episode a week, spend the week exploring a topic, and we will expound upon that from our own research and things like that. We'll try to stick with patristics and Thomas Aquinas because Thomas Aquinas is the greatest.
So no Skillebex?
I might look into Skillebex just to see what not to do.
We can talk about seriously, we could actually read some of what he says and make fun of it.
It'd be kind of cool if we read some Ronner, Skillebeck, even Gordini, and see what does he get right? What does he get wrong? What was what was it that he went off?
Yeah, what was his MO? Like where did he come? You don't just wake up a heretic.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. And not everything they said is wrong. Like Ronner, he has a lot of things that are like, okay, well, that makes sense. But then the things that he gets wrong are just like, oh my gosh.
And I think it's the obstinate unwillingness to change in contentious points that makes you a heretic. That now I don't think they were officially declared, but it's the unwillingness to. Well,
they definitely were not declared heretics.
Yeah.
They're widely accepted in the church.
Right, but when you put them up next to Aquinas and tradition,
which oddly enough, all of them were Thomistics.
I know, but Neo.
Yeah, Neo.
Neo-Thomistics. Remember, there you go. There you go again, TNT. Everything with Neo is bad. Can't do it. No good.
I like to read. I haven't read de Lubac, but I've heard a lot of good things about de Lubac.
How about Garrigou Lagrange?
I haven't read Garrigou Lagrange, but I have his book in my room, so I may need to read that.
I have to say, heard his Taylor Marshall's Twitter feed, I saw in one episode he had mentioned Garrigou Lagrange, but he said it kind of, instead of Garrigou, he said Garrigou. And someone commented, Dr. Marshall, what was that theologian's last name? His first name was Gary.
No, yeah,
totally understandable mistake if you never heard of the guy, but I just thought it was funny.
I heard some good things about him. Hey, look, wow.
Father Pilsner.
So that'd be another cool thing we could do is see if we can talk to some of our professors about these type of things, because we have some wonderful professors here.
We do.
And so, they are very good. So other than that, I think we'll conclude in a short introduction. That's a little bit about ourselves. I guess we should talk a little bit more about ourselves. Max, who's your where are you from and what are you about?
Okay. Well, I was born in Tyler, Texas, on January 30th, 1996. Then we moved. Well, we always lived in Palestine, so
Palestine, like next to Israel?
It's Palestine.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I kill people who say Palestine. Palestine, Texas. For some reason, they decided to name it that. I don't know why. But and then we moved from Palestine down to Friendswood, which is a suburb of Houston, in 1997. So I've been here for 22 years of my life. And what about you? You're from here, aren't you?
Yeah, born and raised, Houston, Texas.
Yep.
And homegrown, and born March 5th, 1998. So I'm 21 years old. I was very excited to become 21 because then I could finally go and rent a car.
Rent a car so that you could drive it to the Shiner Brewery.
Right.
2 hours away.
Right, exactly. That's the great thing about Texas. There's breweries all over the freaking place.
There really are. If you like beer, come to Houston.
Yeah, honestly. And so that's a little bit of the grown up family of 6. I guess I'm the oldest male. Not guess, I am the oldest male.
I didn't know you had that many siblings.
No. Family of 6, meaning my parents. So there's 4 of us.
Oh,
yeah. So not that many of us.
I have a family of. I don't have a family. I'm part of a family. You know what I mean? I don't have children. That's what I'm saying. I have a sister, and then we have 2 parents.
Oh, that's kind of small for
I know, but
that.
Hey, so part of my family's backstory is interesting. My mom was a Catholic product of the 70s, which meant not Catholic. No, not really. But, the catechesis was lacking severely. And my dad wasn't even born Catholic. He was born Methodist. So he's a convert. Thanks be to God. Growing up, we always went to Mass. Never missed. I knew that was not an option to never miss. I knew it was not an option. And then in high school, I started kind of getting into the faith more, learning more about it. And by the grace of God, my parents slowly came along, and now my dad is a full-on traddy.
That's hilarious.
Not really, but he attends the Latin Mass, the traditional Latin Mass. Loves Gregorian chant. We make a yearly visit to Clear Creek Monastery. My sister is also considering religious life, and my mom has been a great role model for all of us in our little faith community we have going on at home. So no, but I'm very grateful.
Yeah, my family is very different experience because my mother was always staunchly Catholic, very Marian. Our family has a very Mexican background, so Our Lady of Guadalupe is a huge.
I'm German Irish, as about as white as you can get.
Yeah, so we're very different.
And you're Mexican who doesn't speak Spanish,
right? And we actually trace our lineage back to Aztecs. So that's pretty freaky. So in fact, we had some curanderos, which are just Mexican witch doctors. So no good. And but yeah, so
you need
since
to get your family line exercised.
Yeah, honestly, we had my dad do a deliverance prayer over our family.
Exercised, EXCORSED.
No, not doing push-ups. And so my mom was a very a Mexican Catholic, very very devout, very Marian, rosary every day. Mother was part of the Legion of Mary.
Oh, interesting point of fact. I found out at the recent Legion of Mary retreat that our mothers have the same name.
Really?
Yes.
Your mom's name is Melissa?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Oh.
And,
See, I didn't even know my mom's name until 4 years ago. I thought her name was Mom. I'm just kidding.
That's like with the kids I teach. I remember when I was a kid, I was scandalized when I found out my teachers had first names.
Teachers have first names? Dr. Rebard's name isn't Doctor? I was so confused. What?
I just thought everybody named Doctor became a professor.
Yeah, I thought it was just how it went. Odd. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, so my dad I think he was baptized Catholic, and then he ended up becoming non-denominational, growing up non-denominational, and became Catholic, confirmed the day I was baptized. So that was pretty cool. And so we were all raised very devoutly Catholic, very Marian, praying the rosary as a family. So that was then I decided that I knew I wanted to study theology when I was in 5th grade.
But your dad was a little happy clappy, right?
My family, so we were very charismatic, you could say.
Yeah.
So I loved Live Teen. I grew up on Live Teen.
You can find a lot of solid Catholics in that movement who are doctrinally solid.
Yeah. The liturgy is just
so I think
it's a lot of just not being exposed to it.
Would it be exposed to tradition?
Yeah.
I
think that's really what it is. Because I grew up on Live Teen and I loved Live Teen. I literally went to Live Teen Mass every single week.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was like my favorite thing. I loved it.
I sang in the Live Teen band at my parish.
I did. I was like one of the. I was in charge of the youth council for the archdiocese at one point, and I was leading all the different Live Teen retreats.
I feel
and things
like you're
that.
Always in charge of something,
dude. That's. I have a problem. I have a. I think that's my vice.
Workaholic.
Sure. Yeah.
That's one thing that St. John Cassian did not address in the conferences is workaholism.
No, yeah, I definitely am more of a leader, which sometimes is bad for me because then it fuels my pride, and that's one of my vices, probably my big vice. But so working on that, so that Max will keep me accountable on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I was raised with all the Live Teen things like that.
Me too.
And it wasn't until at the university where I went to a Latin Mass one time. And at the Latin Mass, I was sitting there and I was like, wow, I am never coming back here again. This is terrible.
No, I remember when we were in Latin class together and I was trying to get you to come to the traditional Latin Mass and you were railing against it.
Yeah, dude, it was not, I was like.
But it was a low Mass.
It was low Mass. It was. And I was really confused. It was like, why on earth would anybody do this? I was like, look, I think this is just not my cup of tea. Some people like it. Other people don't. And it's okay.
So that's another thing I would like to talk about sometime is the liturgical reforms and the authentic liturgical movement that was started in the late 19th century that went off the rails and gave us the Novus Ordo. Yeah,
I'd be curious to explore that a little more. Talk about what's good reform and what's bad reform.
Exactly.
And what's legitimate, what's not.
Because just for anybody who doesn't know, the low Mass, talking about the traditional Latin Mass, the low Mass is there's three distinctions to Mass in the old rite. There's Solemn High, which is the norm for Sundays and solemnities. Then there's High Mass, which is Solemn High if you don't have a deacon and a subdeacon. We'll talk about that later. So it'd just be a priest and servers and a choir. And then there's a low Mass, which is no singing. Everything is spoken or whispered by the priest. But in the High Mass and the Solemn High Mass, it's all sung. Incense, the whole bit. But in low Mass, before the Second Vatican Council, many parishes had the problem of excessive low Mass, where they would they would be spitting out 12 to 15 masses on a Sunday.
Dang.
Because just for I guess necessity.
Interesting. I didn't know
they
that.
would only last 20, 25 minutes or something like that. So
severe abuse.
Severe abuse.
Very short.
Low Mass is not the norm. It never was the norm. And it should not be the norm now.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely an interesting thing to explore. Yeah. I've been reading about, I think another thing, I was reading Latin Mass Explained and Nothing Superfluous.
Yeah.
So wonderful books explaining the symbolism in
also Treasure and Tradition.
I haven't read that one.
It's a good big picture book. It's great.
Then we need to. I think another good thing to talk about is like it'd be cool. What if we get a Novus Ordo Missal? Novus Ordo meaning the new Mass, the
Mass of Paul VI.
Right. And so we get that, and we get the Trinity
Missal. Also called the ordinary form of the Mass.
Yeah, and so let's get those two, and let's look at the symbolism in both of them. See, we'll only talk about the good in both, and then we'll just compare it in that way. I think that would be a cool thing to do.
We'll go. One of us will have one missal, the other one will have another, and we'll go line by line. The text of the Mass.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. That'd be an interesting thing to do.
Yep.
You know what I should do?
What's that?
Maybe I'll make my class listen to these.
What?
But
that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make my faith formation students listen to them. I think that'd be an interesting thing to do. Okay, so I think we'll just close out there, and now you know a little bit about us and our faith journey.
We use that term sarcastically.
Yeah, so we use a lot of terms sardonically or ironically. And
Wait,
so,
I have a request. Can we say the Our Father while holding hands now?
Only if we do it in Latin. That's a good point, though. Actually, I think it'll be good if we pray before and after before we start. And we didn't do that today, but
let's do Ave Maria right now.
Okay.
In the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.